Amelia Hartley had always believed in happy endings. At 35, she still carried the gentle optimism of someone who had never truly been broken. Her life with Victor felt like one of those carefully curated Instagram reels. Sunlit breakfasts on the wraparound porch, weekend drive through the countryside, quiet evenings where he'd read aloud from whatever novel she was currently lost in. Their Victorian house on Maplewood Lane was the centrepiece. 3 stories of pale grey stone, tall windows framed by climbing ivy, a rose garden she tended obsessively. It had been in her family since her great-grandfather built it in the 1920s. When her parents died 11 years earlier in a foggy highway crash, the house, and the substantial trust tied to it, passed equally to her and her older sister. Eliza had been the wildfire to Amelia's steady flame. Red hair that caught light like copper, a laugh that filled rooms, always dragging Amelia into adventures. Midnight swims, road trips with no destination, secrets whispered under blankets during thunderstorms. When Eliza vanished on that solo hiking trip 6 years ago, the loss carved something permanent out of Amelia. They found her backpack tangled in river reeds near the Gorge Trail. No footprints, no signs of struggle. Just the backpack and a single water bottle half submerged. Search teams scoured for weeks. Eventually, the sheriff's department declared her dead in absentia. The coroner issued a certificate. The family lawyer read the will again. With one sister presumed deceased and no children, the entire estate, including the house, the investments, the land, passed to the surviving sibling. Victor appeared in Amelia's life 3 months after the funeral, like he'd been waiting for the exact right moment. He was 38 then, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that always looked professionally tousled, and eyes that seemed to see straight through people's polite masks. He worked in real estate development, turning crumbling properties into luxury condos. He listened when Amelia talked about Eliza for hours. He held her when the grief hit hardest. He never pushed. He simply stayed. When he proposed on the back porch under strings of fairy lights, kneeling with a simple platinum band, Amelia said yes without hesitation. They married quietly at City Hall 6 months later. No big wedding, just them, a few close friends, and the house that now felt a little less empty. For 10 years it worked. Victor managed the finances with quiet efficiency. Amelia ran her small online rare book business from the sunroom. They travelled occasionally, Paris once, Tuscany another time, always returning to the same familiar rooms. There were no dramatic fights, no affairs she knew of, no red flags waving in plain sight. Only small, almost imperceptible things that she explained away. The attic, for instance. Victor had taken to spending time up there in the evenings. Old wiring needs checking, he'd say, or found some water damage after that last storm. He'd come down with dust on his sleeves and a faint metallic smell on his clothes that Amelia couldn't place. Sometimes, late at night, she heard faint thumps overhead, like furniture being shifted, or footsteps pacing in slow circles. "The house settling," Victor would murmur, pulling her closer in bed. "These old places have personalities." She believed him. Why wouldn't she? Then came the rainy Thursday in late October. Victor had left early for a meeting in the city. Big client, might be late. Amelia decided to finally tackle the Christmas decorations she'd been meaning to sort. She climbed the narrow attic stairs, flashlight in hand. The door at the top was locked. That was new. She frowned, ran her fingers along the frame. No key in the usual spot above the lintel. Downstairs, she searched Victor's desk in the study. Under a false bottom in the top drawer, something she'd never noticed before, she found a small brass key. Her pulse quickened for no reason she could name. Back in the attic, the key turned smoothly. The door creaked open. Dust swirled in the beam of her light, Trunks, old lamps, a dressmaker's dummy draped in a sheet. In the far corner, behind a stack of cardboard boxes labelled Eliza, College, the wall looked wrong. A seam that didn't belong. She pressed. The panel gave way with a soft click. No bigger than a large closet. A narrow cot pushed against one wall. A plastic bucket in the corner with a lid. A small folding table holding a half-eaten sandwich and a plastic water bottle. Chains. Actual metal chains, bolted into the floorboards, one end attached to an ankle cuff lying open on the mattress. And on the cot, curled on her side under a thin blanket, was a woman. Red hair, longer now, tangled and dull. A face Amelia knew better than her own. Eliza. She was thinner, cheekbones sharp, skin pale from years without sun. But the eyes, when they fluttered open, were the same hazel as Amelia's. The same eyes that had once sparkled with mischief. Amelia? The voice was hoarse, cracked from disuse. Is this you? Or am I dreaming again? Amelia's legs gave out. She dropped to her knees beside the cot, hands hovering, afraid to touch in case the vision vanished. It's me, she whispered. Tears burned hot trails down her cheeks. Oh God, Eliza, it's really me. Eliza reached out slowly, trembling fingers brushing Amelia's wrist. Skin against skin. Real. Warm. Alive. He told me you thought I was dead, Eliza rasped. Showed me newspaper clippings, your wedding announcement. Said you'd moved on, married someone wonderful, that I was better off forgotten. Amelia's breath hitched. I mourned you every single day. I never stopped missing you. Eliza's laugh was weak, broken. He said the money needed protecting, that I'd waste it, that you needed him to manage everything. He promised he'd let me go once it was all secure. Years ago. I stopped believing him a long time ago. Amelia looked around the tiny prison, the barred window high up, too small to climb through, the single bulb hanging bare, the scratches on the wall marking days, weeks, years. How long? She asked, already knowing. 5 years, Eliza said quietly. 5 years, 3 months, 12 days. Amelia covered her mouth to stifle the sob. Downstairs, the front door opened. Victor's voice called up cheerfully. Honey, I'm home early. Brought Thai. Amelia froze. She looked at Eliza. Eliza looked back. Fear, hope, warning all at once. Amelia whispered, I have to go. He can't know I found you. Not yet. I need proof. I need to get you out safely. Eliza nodded, squeezing her hand once. Be careful. He's different when he thinks he's losing control. Amelia slipped out, pushed the panel shut, locked the attic door, replaced the key exactly as she'd found it. She descended the stairs on legs that felt made of glass. Victor was in the kitchen unpacking takeout bags. He smiled when he saw her, warm, easy, the same smile she'd fallen in love with. Perfect timing, he said, kissing her forehead. Pad thai, extra lime, just how you like it. Amelia forced a smile. You're the best. Inside, something cold and hard had taken root in her chest. The perfect life had been a lie. And now she knew exactly how deep the lie went. Amelia moved through the rest of that evening like someone walking on thin ice, every step measured, every smile rehearsed. Victor unpacked the Thai food with casual efficiency, chatting about his client meeting as if nothing in the world had changed. He asked about her day. She answered with half-truths about sorting old books and emails. When he reached across the table to brush a strand of hair from her face, she didn't flinch. She leaned into it just enough to salve a lie. Inside, her mind was screaming. After dinner, Victor suggested a movie. They sat on the couch, his arm around her shoulders, some forgettable thriller playing on the screen. Every time a character lied on screen, Amelia felt the irony twist like a knife. She excused herself early, claiming a headache. In the bathroom, she locked the door, turned on the faucet to mask any sound, and let the tears come. Silent, furious tears that tasted like betrayal. She couldn't sleep. Victor's steady breathing beside her felt like a threat. Around 2 a.m., she slipped out of bed, phone in hand, and crept to the study. She photographed everything she could find. Bank statements showing unexplained transfers starting right after Eliza's disappearance. Emails from a private clinic she'd never heard of. A folder labelled estate planning, with notes in Victor's handwriting about asset consolidation post-loss. She also searched his browser history on the desktop. He never cleared it. Arrogance, she realised now. Searches from years ago. How long before missing person declared dead? Inheritance laws, sibling presumed deceased. Private medical transport services. Her stomach turned. The next morning, Victor left for another site visit. Amelia waited until his car disappeared down the lane, then climbed back to the attic. Eliza was awake this time, sitting against the wall, knees drawn up. The chain rattled softly as she shifted. "You came back," Eliza whispered, relief flooding her face. "I promised." Amelia knelt, passing a small bag through the opening. Bottled water, protein bars, a blanket, painkillers from the downstairs cabinet. "I'm building evidence. I can't just call the police yet. He'll deny everything. Say you're a squatter or I'm unstable from grief. We need undeniable proof." Eliza nodded slowly. "He's careful. Always has been. But he talks sometimes, like he's confessing to someone who can't tell. He told me once that the money was our future, that you'd thank him someday, that you were too soft to handle it alone." Amelia's jaw clenched. "I'm not soft anymore." They talked in hushed bursts. Eliza recounted the day of the hike, Victor picking her up, insisting on the remote trail, offering a water bottle that tasted faintly chemical. Waking chained, disoriented, him explaining calmly that it was temporary. The first year was the worst, screaming until her throat bled, banging on walls until her hands bruised. Then the punishments, lights off for days, food withheld, promises broken. She learned silence was safer. "I kept track of time by scratching the wall," Eliza said, pointing to faint lines. "And by listening to you downstairs. Your laugh, your arguments, Christmas music. I knew you were alive. That kept me going." Amelia pressed her forehead to the cool wood of the partition. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. You didn't know." Amelia stayed as long as she dared, then slipped out. She spent the afternoon at the public library, safer than home Wi-Fi. Using a guest computer, she researched kidnapping statutes, false imprisonment laws, estate fraud. She created an encrypted cloud folder and uploaded every photo she'd taken. She even searched for private investigators. One name kept appearing: Marcus Thorne, ex-detective, discreet, specializes in domestic anomalies. She emailed him from a new anonymous account. Brief summary, no names yet. Need advice on potential long-term confinement in private residence. Evidence gathering phase. Discreet consultation? Reply came within hours. Initial consult $500 cash. No records. Meet tomorrow, 11 a.m. Coffee shop on Elm. Bring what you have. That night, Victor was attentive. Flowers, back rub, whispered, "I love you." Amelia mirrored it all, stomach churning. She waited until he slept, then crept upstairs again. This time she left a tiny voice-activated recorder hidden in the rafters of the hidden room. Small enough to miss, powerful enough to catch every word. The next day she met Thorne. He was late 40s, salt and pepper hair, eyes that missed nothing. They sat in a corner booth. Amelia slid a USB drive across the table. Photos, statements, timeline. Thorne scrolled silently. His face didn't change, but his knuckles whitened around the coffee mug. "This is first-degree kidnapping," he said quietly. "Possibly aggravated by prolonged duration and financial motive. If he staged her disappearance, add conspiracy and fraud. You have video?" "Not yet, but I'm getting it." He nodded. "Smart. Don't confront. Don't change routine. Install cameras if you can, hidden, cloud-backed. Get medical proof once she's out. DNA, malnutrition markers. And whatever you do, don't trust anyone he knows." Amelia paid him in cash she'd withdrawn over weeks in small amounts. "What now?" "Keep documenting. When you have enough, especially her on camera saying his name and describing the captivity, we go straight to the DA. No local cops if he has connections. I'll make introductions." She left the meeting lighter, but the weight of the secret pressed harder. Over the next week, the cameras went up, 2 in the attic, angled to catch the hidden door and cot. She tested them from her phone, clear feed, motion alerts. The first night Victor visited Eliza after dark, Amelia watched from the guest room, volume low. Victor's voice through the speaker, soft, almost tender. "Investments are up. Another year, maybe 2, and we can wrap this up. You'll get a new identity, money to start over. Just be patient." Eliza's reply was faint but clear. "You've said that for 5 years, Victor." Amelia's hand shook as she saved the clip. Proof. Undeniable. But Victor's behaviour shifted. He started asking questions. "You seem distracted lately. Did you go into the attic? Why is the key in my drawer slightly crooked?" Amelia lied smoothly. Headaches, book orders, absent-mindedness. She felt the noose tightening. Then came the night everything accelerated. Victor announced over breakfast, "I have a 3-day trip to the coast, client retreat, leaving tomorrow morning." Amelia's heart leapt. 3 days, alone with Eliza. Time to plan the extraction. She smiled. "Sounds important. I'll miss you." That night, after he packed, she waited until his breathing evened out. Then she went to the attic. Eliza was waiting. 3 days, Amelia whispered. "We get you out. We call the authorities. We end this." Eliza's eyes shone with something Amelia hadn't seen in the footage. Real hope. "Be careful," Eliza said. "He's paranoid. If he suspects anything—" "I know." Amelia squeezed her hand through the chain's reach. "But we're sisters. We've survived worse." She left the recorder running, slipped back downstairs and, for the first time in days, allowed herself a small, cold smile in the dark. The illusion was cracking, and soon it would shatter. Victor left at 7:15 a.m. the next morning, suitcase in hand, kissing Amelia goodbye with the same practiced warmth he'd shown for a decade. 3 days, he said. "Call if you need anything. I'll keep my phone on." His eyes lingered on her a second longer than usual, searching, perhaps. Amelia smiled, waved from the porch until his car vanished around the bend. The second it was out of sight, the mask dropped. Her hands shook as she locked the front door. She didn't waste time. First, she climbed to the attic, key already in her pocket. The hidden panels swung open easily now. Eliza was sitting up, blanket around her shoulders, eyes bright with anticipation. "Today?" Eliza asked, voice low but steady. "Today," Amelia confirmed. She knelt and began working on the ankle cuff with a small set of lockpicks she'd ordered online 2 weeks earlier under a fake name and delivered to Clara's address. The picks were cheap, amateur grade, but the cuff was old and simple. After 10 tense minutes of scraping and twisting, the lock clicked. Eliza's ankle came free. Eliza stared at her bare leg as if it belonged to someone else. She flexed her foot slowly, wincing at the stiffness. "I forgot what this felt like." Amelia helped her stand. Eliza's legs buckled almost immediately. 5 years of limited movement had atrophied muscles she'd once relied on to hike mountains. Amelia caught her, held her upright. "We'll go slow. Down the stairs, out the back door, into Clara's car. She's waiting 2 blocks away." They moved like ghosts through the house. Eliza leaned heavily on Amelia, pausing every few steps to catch her breath. At the bottom of the attic stairs, she stopped, staring at the familiar hallway, the framed photos of their childhood, the grandfather clock that still ticked the same rhythm. Tears welled up. "I never thought I'd see this again," she whispered. Amelia squeezed her arm. "You're seeing it now, and you're leaving it behind." They slipped out the kitchen door into the backyard. Clara's grey sedan idled at the curb behind the hedge. Clara stepped out, eyes widening when she saw Eliza, alive, real, walking, barely, toward her. "Oh my God," Clara breathed. She opened the back door. "Get in, hospital first." Eliza slid into the back seat, Amelia beside her. Clara drove carefully, no speeding, no sudden moves. At the emergency entrance of St. Mary's Hospital, they bypassed the waiting room. Clara had called ahead using Thorne's contacts. A private room was ready. Nurses and a doctor met them at the side door. Eliza was transferred to a gurney. Blood drawn, IV started, vitals checked. The doctor's face grew grim as he catalogued the damage. Severe vitamin D deficiency, chronic anemia, muscle wasting, old pressure sores on her hips and back, signs of repeated respiratory infections from poor ventilation. Psych eval scheduled for later. Amelia stayed glued to her sister's side. When the nurses left them alone, Eliza reached for her hand. "Thank you," she said simply. Amelia shook her head. "Don't thank me yet. We still have to make sure he never walks free." That afternoon, Detective Ramirez arrived, Thorne's recommended contact at the county DA's office. Tall, no-nonsense, with a voice that cut through small talk. Amelia handed over everything. The USB drive with camera footage, the voice recorder files, bank records, Eliza's handwritten journal pages she'd smuggled out over the past week. Ramirez watched the key clips in silence. When Victor's voice came through, "Another year, maybe 2, and we can wrap this up," Ramirez's jaw tightened. "This is textbook aggravated kidnapping," she said. "Prolonged captivity, financial motive, staging a death. We'll move fast. Warrant for the house, arrest warrant for Victor Hartley. But he's out of state right now. We'll coordinate with local PD there to pick him up quietly." Amelia nodded. "He's supposed to be back tomorrow night." Ramirez looked at Eliza. "Ms. Hartley, can you give a formal statement?" Eliza straightened as much as the hospital bed allowed. "Yes, everything. Every day he came up there, every lie he told." The statement took 2 hours. Eliza spoke calmly at first, then her voice cracked when she described the early days, the terror, the isolation, the slow realization that no rescue was coming. By the end, she was crying, But she didn't stop. Ramirez closed her notebook. "We have enough for an emergency warrant. We'll search the house tonight, before he returns, and we'll have officers here 24/7. That night, while Eliza slept under sedation, Amelia sat by the window watching rain streak the glass. Her phone buzzed. Victor. "Just checking in. Miss you already. Everything okay at home?" She stared at the message for a long minute, then typed, "All good. Busy with books. Safe travels." She hit send. Then she blocked his number. The police raid happened at 11 p.m. Amelia watched from Clara's car parked across the street as uniformed officers entered with a battering ram, just in case. Lights came on room by room. They found the attic room exactly as she'd left it. The cot, the chains, the bucket, the scratches on the wall. Forensics photographed everything, bagged the recorder, took samples from the tray. By 2 a.m, the house was sealed with crime scene tape. Ramirez called Amelia. "We've got it all. Physical evidence matches your footage. We're issuing the arrest warrant now. He's at a hotel in Portland. Local PD will take him into custody at dawn." Amelia, for what felt like the first time in days. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Ramirez said. "He'll fight this. He'll claim she was hiding voluntarily, or that you're unstable, or any number of defenses. But the evidence is strong. Stay with your sister. We'll need both of you for the arraignment." Amelia returned to the hospital room. Eliza was awake, staring at the ceiling. "They found everything?" she asked. "Everything." Eliza closed her eyes. A single tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm free." Amelia climbed onto the narrow bed beside her, careful of the IV lines. She wrapped her arms around her sister, the same way they used to sleep as kids during storms. "You're free," Amelia whispered. "And he's going to pay for every single day he stole." Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, for the first time in years, the house on Maplewood Lane was truly empty. But the storm, the real one, was just beginning. Victor was arrested at 6:47 a.m. in his Portland hotel room. Local PD knocked politely at first, standard procedure for a white-collar suspect with no violent history on record. When he opened the door, in a hotel robe, still half asleep, they read the warrant. Kidnapping in the first degree, false imprisonment, conspiracy to commit fraud, tampering with evidence, and interstate flight to avoid prosecution. They'd added that last one because he'd crossed state lines after the raid photos hit the wire. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He simply asked for his lawyer and went quietly into the squad car. The ankle monitor he'd worn during bail was removed. He was flown back to the county jail that same afternoon under heavy guard. Bail was denied at the emergency hearing. Flight risk, danger to witnesses, severity of charges. He sat in the courtroom shackled, staring straight ahead while the judge recited the litany of accusations. Amelia and Eliza watched the live feed from the hospital room on Clara's laptop. Eliza's hand tightened around Amelia's when Victor's face appeared on screen. Older now, lines etched deeper around his eyes, but still wearing that calm, controlled expression. "He looks smaller," Eliza said quietly. Amelia didn't answer. She couldn't look away. The arraignment was swift. Not guilty pleas entered on all counts. Trial date set for 4 months out. Prosecutors moved quickly to build the case airtight. DNA from the attic room matched Eliza's. Hair from the pillow, skin cells on the blanket. Medical records confirmed long-term malnutrition and confinement trauma. Financial forensics traced every dollar Victor had moved after Eliza's death. The clinic director, already under investigation for unrelated fraud, took a plea and flipped, providing records of the sedatives and the staged body transport paperwork. Victor's defense team tried everything. They filed motions to suppress the attic footage, illegally obtained without warrant, claimed Eliza had been a willing participant in some elaborate family insurance scheme, even suggested Amelia had fabricated parts of the story out of guilt over abandoning her sister years ago. The judge denied most motions. The evidence was overwhelming. But Victor wasn't done fighting. 2 weeks after his transfer to county jail, he requested a private meeting with Amelia, through his lawyer. He wants to explain, the attorney said over the phone. No recordings, no police, just closure. Amelia almost refused. But something, curiosity, rage, the need to hear him say it out loud, made her agree. She met him in a small visitation room at the jail, glass partition between them, guard standing watch. Victor looked different up close. The orange jumpsuit hung loose on him. His hair was unkempt. But the eyes were the same, dark, calculating. You came, he said, almost surprised. I want to hear it from you, Amelia replied. Her voice was flat. Why? He leaned forward, elbows on the ledge. I loved you, both of you. But you were always hers first. Always the two of you against the world. When your parents died, I saw how fragile it all was. The money, the house, your future. It could disappear if she kept being reckless. Hiking alone, bad investments, wild ideas. I thought, if I removed the risk, I could protect what we had. Protect you. Amelia stared. You chained her. For 5 years. I kept her alive, he said, as if that were the mitigating factor. I could have made it permanent. I didn't. I fed her, gave her books, talked to her. I was going to let her go when the trust matured fully. New identity, cash to start over. I just needed time. You needed control, Amelia corrected. You needed us to need you. Victor looked down at his hands. Maybe. But I never wanted to hurt you. Either of you. Amelia stood. You already did. She walked out without another word. That night, back at the hospital, Eliza had been discharged to a rehab facility nearby. Amelia told her sister everything. Eliza listened silently, then said, He still thinks he was the hero in his own story. He's not, Amelia replied. And he never will be again. The trial began in early spring. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, true crime podcasters, women from local support groups who'd followed the case. Amelia and Eliza sat in the front row every day, side by side. Eliza had gained weight, her hair cut shorter and healthier, her posture straighter. She testified for 3 days, calm, unflinching, detailing every humiliation, every broken promise, every time Victor had stood over her cot and said, This is for your own good. Victor took the stand on the final day. His defense painted him as a misguided protector, overwhelmed by responsibility, convinced he was saving the family fortune. He spoke softly, eyes downcast, admitting to the confinement but claiming it was temporary and non-violent. The prosecutor tore him apart on cross. Did you drug your sister-in-law on the hiking trip? Yes. Did you forge documents to declare her dead? Yes. Did you use the resulting inheritance to fund your lifestyle and investments? A pause. Yes. Did you tell your wife her sister was dead while keeping her alive in your attic? Silence. Then quietly. Yes. The jury deliberated for 11 hours. Guilty. On every count. When the verdict was read, Victor's head dropped. No outburst, just the slow slump of a man who finally understood the cage he'd built was now his own. Sentencing came a month later. Life without parole on the kidnapping charge alone, plus consecutive terms on the others. The judge spoke directly to him. You did not merely deprive one woman of liberty. You erased 5 years of her existence, shattered her sister's trust, and profited from their pain. There is no redemption in manipulation disguised as love. You will spend the rest of your life where you belong. Victor was led away. This time, he looked back, straight at Amelia and Eliza. His eyes held no apology, only defeat. Outside the courthouse, under a sky finally clear after weeks of rain, the sisters stood together. Photographers snapped photos, reporters shouted questions. They ignored them all. Eliza turned to Amelia. It's really over. Amelia nodded. It's over. They walked away hand in hand, the weight of 10 years lifting with every step. The reckoning was complete. The courtroom emptied slowly after the sentencing, like air leaking from a balloon that had been stretched too tight for too long. Amelia and Eliza remained seated in the front row long after most people had left. The judge's gavel still echoed faintly in their ears. The finality of life without parole hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Eliza broke the silence first. I thought I'd feel something bigger. Relief, maybe, or triumph. But it's just quiet. Amelia reached over and laced her fingers through her sister's. Quiet is good. We've had enough noise. They walked out together into late spring sunlight, bright, almost blinding after months of dim courtrooms and hospital fluorescence. Reporters surged forward, microphones extended, but Clara and 2 security guards formed a gentle barrier. No comment today, Clara said firmly. They'll speak when they're ready. The sisters slipped into the back of Clara's car. No one spoke during the drive. Eliza stared out the window at trees budding green. Amelia watched her sister's profile, memorizing the way sunlight caught the new highlights in her hair. They had already decided. The house on Maplewood Lane would go. Too many rooms carried echoes, footsteps overhead, doors locking, promises whispered through floorboards. A real estate agent, not Victor's firm, listed it within a week. It sold quickly, ironically, to a young couple expecting their first child. They planned to renovate, fill it with light and laughter. Amelia signed the papers without looking back. With their share of the proceeds, they bought a small house on the coast an hour north of the city. White clapboard, wraparound porch, a narrow path down to a pebbled beach. No attic, no basement, just open rooms, big windows, and the constant sound of waves. They moved in at the end of summer. Eliza took the bedroom facing the ocean. She started painting again. Not the dark, chained figures of her early hospital sketches, but seascapes at first. Greys and blues, foam curling white. Over months, the colours warmed. Sunrises in pink and gold. Wildflowers pushing through dunes. She exhibited locally under her own name. The pieces sold steadily, quietly. The money went into a fund she created for women rebuilding after long-term abuse. Amelia returned to books, but differently. She finished the manuscript she'd been writing in fragments during the trial, The Years Between. Not a sensational tell-all, but a careful account of grief mistaken for closure, of love used as camouflage, of two sisters finding each other across a chasm of lies. She dedicated it simply to Eliza, who waited, and to every voice still waiting to be heard. The book found readers slowly at first: support groups, therapists' waiting rooms, online forums for survivors. Then word spread. Letters arrived, handwritten notes, emails, messages from women who recognized pieces of their own stories in the pages. Amelia answered every one she could. Some days it felt like carrying a lantern through dark rooms she'd once been trapped in herself. They built routines that felt miraculous in their ordinariness. Morning coffee on the porch, watching gulls wheel over the water. Walks along the beach, collecting smooth stones and broken shells. Evenings where they cooked together. Eliza rediscovering spices she'd forgotten. Amelia burning toast and laughing about it. They argued over small things: whose turn it was to unload the dishwasher, which movie to watch on rainy nights. Those arguments were gifts, proof they could disagree without fear. Therapy continued for both. Eliza worked through nightmares that still came sometimes, chains rattling, doors locking. Amelia unpacked the guilt she hadn't realized she carried, the guilt of believing, of marrying, of living happily above while her sister suffered below. They went to sessions separately and together. Some days were hard. Most days were better. On the 5th anniversary of the rescue, the day Amelia opened the attic door, they returned to the old hiking trail where Eliza had vanished. The path was overgrown now, ferns brushing their legs, wildflowers crowding the edges. They carried a small wooden box containing the last page Eliza had torn from her attic journal. A single line in faded pencil. Today I heard her voice through the floor. She's coming. They knelt by the riverbank where the backpack had been found. Eliza opened the box. The paper fluttered in the breeze before she let it go. It drifted down to the water, caught the current, and disappeared around the bend. Eliza exhaled, a long, steady breath. We're free. Amelia nodded. We always were. We just had to remember. They stood there until the sun dipped low, painting the water gold. Then they turned and walked back to the car, shoulders brushing, steps matched. Years passed in the gentle way time does when it's no longer stolen. Eliza's paintings hung in galleries. She taught art classes to teenagers who reminded her of her younger self. Amelia's book became a quiet staple in survivor circles. She spoke at conferences when she felt ready, always ending with the same line. The truth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper through the floorboards. They never married again, never had children. They didn't need to rebuild the family they'd lost. They simply continued the one they'd always had. On quiet evenings, when the house was still and the ocean murmured outside, they sat on the porch with tea and blankets. No words were needed, just presence. The shadows were gone, only dawn remained.